what you guys think, and we'll talk about it
Cheers.
on We Got Your Mail. Up next, okay, guys, Sarah, did you see the Scream trailer?
I did.
What'd you think
I
about
saw
it?
it.
What'd you think about it?
Well, in true Scream fashion,
Mm.
it is what it is.
That's a non-answer. I want an answer.
I'm going to go on with it. Okay. So the trailer opens and it's just like the first Scream movie, except they have got cell phones, right?
Right.
So landline, but also who has a landline? Who has a landline these days? I don't have a landline. I don't know anybody who has a landline.
Yeah.
I don't.
My
I don't know
grandma.
anybody, but yeah, there you go. But she's like, it's a teenager.
Mm.
So the premise of the movie that I gathered from the trailer is that here's a new Scream murderer, dressed all up, doing the dealio, is targeting people that are related to the original people who were murdered.
Right.
Right.
Just like every Scream killer.
Yeah, but like again, nobody moved. Like they didn't move out of the town. Everybody's still there, and there's a whole mess of these teenagers getting murdered. And then we got the couple of the main characters came back: Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and that other one.
No, I don't think Sydney still. I think Sydney moved out of that town a long time ago.
Well, but she
just keeps coming back. They just keep bringing her back.
Nev
Dewey
Campbell, Sydney Prescott. Yeah. So Gail Weathers and Dewey Ridley are the only original Scream characters that have returned, but they've been in most of the other ones,
right?
Too.
Well, they're the only ones from the original that's still alive, right? I don't think anybody. I don't think any of the original people are alive. All of them are dead. They've been all wiped out.
You're gonna have to fact check that one.
Well, I was gonna bring the wheel back factor cap. That would have been a good one. I'm working on it. I know what you said. I know what you want. I know the wheel, guys. The wheel is coming back. I just didn't have time to bring it back this time. And I have a good idea about it too. I'll tell you about it after the show. My thought. Here's what I hope. I did a reaction to this trailer. I want one of or all three of the original cast to die, or at least one of them, or for all we know, all three of them. How badass would it be if Gail, Dewey, and Sydney are in on it and they are the villains? Wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah. I want one of them to be the villain.
Because Drew Barrymore was in one of the Screams. Matthew Lillard was in one of the Screams. They're still alive.
No. Drew Barrymore died in the first movie. She was the first kill.
No. I mean, like, I thought you meant like the actors were dead.
No. Okay. Yes. No, they're characters. No, they're everybody mostly is alive, guys.
I've had a long day. My understanding part of my brain.
That's how it works, guys. I drink and Sarah gets messed up. What the hell's going on? What's going? That's why the rule is puff. Pass, but she doesn't pass. She just keeps puffing. What the hell?
I don't puff.
Like, don't be spreading. She's like, don't be spreading any rumors about me.
I know.
This from the woman who
says on the internet forever.
Willing to admit that she collects souls, but not willing to smoke marijuana. But look, I would not be surprised if either A, one of the original three dies, or B, one of the original three is the killer. That would be the only thing to me that would be shocking at this point. And they had that opportunity on the fourth one, and they didn't take it. If they're gonna do a part 5, a part 6, I'm thinking this is the next set of trilogies. There was a part 4. This is part 5. I think part 6. I think this is a trilogy thing that's happening. They've
already gendered the killer as a he, because Sidney Prescott, Nev Campbell's character, keeps saying he. He is there. And then he talks with a gendered male voice, like a masculine type voice.
Ghostface always presents himself as a he, and that's always a mystery. I mean, it was a she in part 2 and in part 4, but they present themselves as a he because the original two were he's.
Well, there's going to be more of these movies because they just called it Scream. They didn't call it Scream 16 or something, just Scream. So they're looking at bringing
before the pandemic, originally the poster had Scream and the S was replaced with the number 5. That was one thing they kind of. But that brings me to my next point. I've noticed that a lot of movies are doing that. A lot of franchises are doing that. Like Fast and Furious recently just did that with their titles. Instead of like they'll like, it's almost as if they're rebooting the titles. They'll call a movie Fast and Furious. I mean, we've already had the Fast and the Furious, but but this will be like the 13th movie, and they decide to reuse the original title. Like they're not calling the Scream 5, they're just calling it Scream, which would be confused with the original Scream. Why are they doing that? That's the question. That's what I want to know.
So when you first started this whole thought right here, I almost said, "Girls, please."
I get that a lot.
Because like Hollywood, the movie makers, they don't have any ideas. So every 10 years or so, and look, Scream 4 came out in 2011.
Yeah.
What year is it? 2021.
10 years.
Every 10 years or so, when a new generation comes and they're the spenders at the movies or the spenders for the media, they just recast and remake one of these old classics. And
right.
Scream is a classic Hollywood horror. I mean, they're redoing the Michael movies, and so why not Scream 2? They always did really, really well. You know, if you think about all the movies that they've just remade and just titled them the same, like you can look at, you know, Disney came out with all their live action versions, and there's 100 other movie titles that you can say, you know, To Kill a Mockingbird, they've made that 15 million times. You know, it's not surprising to me that they're just calling it Scream, because they're hoping to introduce this to a younger generation, get them hooked,
go back,
make 15 movies again, you know, and that kind of thing, because they basically recast it and they brought in 3 of the only living characters in order to draw us old fogies back into the movie theater to say, what happens to Dewey? He was my favorite.
You know what? You know who would make a good villain? I'm going to call it right now. Dewey's little sister. She was in part 3 when she brought in the video of a pre-recorded movie for when not Dewey, not Randy. Randy's little sister. Randy had a sister, and she brought in a videotape that Randy pre-recorded just in case if there was going to be a third villain, which there turned out to be. And that was a way that they could bring Randy back, because everybody was pissed that Randy got killed in part 2. What if the villain is Randy's little sister? That's it. I'm calling it. The villain is Randy's sister. Know. She's you want to know who's still alive? What character is still alive? Randy's little sister from part 3. She's still alive. I would imagine
I think it's going to be one of the idiot friends from the high school. I think it's just going to be somebody's idiot third cousin, and they didn't get something, or
that makes sense. Somebody says that
the bastard child of the original killer.
Somebody was saying that online. People are like, I would rather that the villain be somebody unrelated to anything from the original cast, just some person that just decided to do this to kind of, you know, make it free, because every villain had some tie to something from the original. People are like, this time either make it one of the original people, which what I want it to be, or make it somebody totally unconnected who just wanted to start some crap. I'll be okay with either or.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, it's predictable, because I mean, this is the 5th one.
The only thing that wouldn't be predictable if it's Sydney.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that coming, huh? Like Sydney's got
two. In the trailer, she was in a completely different city when they called her and said, it's happening again.
Like, you got a gun? So, I'm Sidney Prescott. I always got a gun. If Sidney Prescott should have learned Krav Maga. How do you keep convincing Gail and Sidney and Dewey to keep coming back to this town? Oh, I wouldn't either. I would get with the FBI.
All of my relatives would leave. If somebody was like 4 times, everybody that was related to me, they would leave because they're not stupid. The first time they were killing my relatives, guess what? My relatives would disperse, change their names, witness protection, something. You wouldn't just live there.
There's the
Come
question.
Get me.
There's the question of the week, guys. If you lived in one of these cities that was famous for these things they just kept happening,
murdering your own relatives. All your relatives get murdered.
Would you stay in this city? Let us know in the box.